champion and
That's a big philosophical jump, my friend.
Right.
And I think thieves and assassins would be really, really mad about that. And those are two groups of people I wouldn't piss off on the internet.
Welcome everyone to Monsters Multiclass. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Melton.
And on this episode, we are taking a look at the Path of the Beast added in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, along with a quick look at the 2 optional class features. So let's dive into it.
You say a quick look, but knowing us, that'll be 30 minutes. I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll figure it out.
All 2 of them?
Yep, all 2 of them.
All right, let's see. Start the timer.
So, looking at the optional features today, for Barbarian, we have the Primal Knowledge 3rd level feature. When you reach 3rd level, and again at 10th level, you gain proficiency in 1 skill of your choice from the list of skills available to Barbarians at 1st level. So, thoughts on this? Does it change the meta entirely for Barbarians?
We should have done an episode on this one. We should pump the brakes right now, guys.
Well, I think
Whole episode on this.
It is good, though, obviously, because Barbarians often the main complaint is that they just don't have much out of combat. Just throwing skills onto them doesn't immediately make them a utility powerhouse by any means, but it does give them just some more to work with when they're not raging and swinging an axe.
Sure. Yeah, I just don't feel about this one, really.
Really?
I'm completely neutral towards it. It's like, whatever, it's fine. It will probably barely be noticed.
Noticed, sure. I think it is good, though, because, more skills is never a bad thing. Nobody's complaining about that.
Yeah, there's nothing bad about this, but the reality is your options as a barbarian are all outside your stats except for athletics. Just all of them are outside your stats. So it's just not that impactful for the barbarian.
Sure.
I can see it being fun to have at least.
And just to say, those skills on their list are animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. So athletics, as you said, is strength-based. So you'll probably get that from the start anyways.
I say you're going to have it anyways. Yeah.
At the same time, you really don't need to get it a lot of times because if you're raging, you have advantage on athletics checks, but you probably still want proficiency in it. Why not? Yep. Whereas animal handling is like the least used skill in all of D&D. Try to use it as much as possible, and it just doesn't come up that much. You'd really think they'd have like different weights to the skills in some way, because perception is like, 3-4 times a session. Animal handling, once a campaign, twice a campaign, maybe.
Next character, I'm taking. Go on.
Like perception just needs to be its own thing.
Yeah. I'm over perception as a proficiency, because like everybody's like, well, yeah, I guess I need perception. Shouldn't feel like you need it as much.
Mm-hmm. Next character I make, though, I'm taking the challenge. It's going to be all about animal handling. We're going to go bard or rogue, put expertise in it, and make sure that stat's the highest, and I'm going to force that roll as much as I can.
You could do, if you wanted to continue with the tradition of pissing me off, you could do a Gloomstalker assassin multiclass, because they get like the first in initiative. They get to absolutely destroy everything, doing like extra damage.
Great. What's that have to do with animal handling?
It would be fitting as a character.
With animal
I was imagining
Ranger.
a horse thief.
Ranger. I don't know. That's all I was going with.
Okay. All right.
Or horse thief, sure. Sure.
Philo the horse thief. Got a party of murders and various vagabonds, but no, I am specifically a horse thief.
Every quest they get.
Those horses, they fall for me in a second. Plus 18 to animal handling.
Every single quest you get, just like, are there going to be horses for this one? No horses. I'm out.
Just become the Pied Piper, but with horses.
Other people's horses, yeah.
All right, so next is Instinctive Pounce. So this is a 7th level feature. As part of the bonus action you take to enter Rage, you can move up to half your speed. a nice little addition.
Yeah. Again, I just don't feel much about this one. I have a thought that, or a suspicion that Barbarians really didn't need optional class features, which they kind of already feel strong anyways. And the writers of this also felt that. And so here's like a couple quick little shoehorned things that have a very minor impact on the character just to check the box of having them, because it would be kind of a standout if they didn't have them.
Yeah, I'm still okay with it though, because
I mean, it's a free thing added in. It doesn't take away anything. It doesn't replace. So it's like, sure, I'll take it.
Right.
Is the implication here that, from what I gather, this is just free movement?
Yep.
Yes.
So 60 feet without dashing, that's okay.
45, yeah. If you have 30, then it adds up half your speed.
You get plus 10 at level 5.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, you were kind of booking it, especially first in the initiative order. And I got to say, like, if you can't get to the guy that you need to hit after you rage, that's like the worst possible scenario for a barbarian, psychologically at least. Mechanically, a little bit too.
Mechanically, not a big deal, but like from just a spirit of the barbarian feeling, it is the worst thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking too, is these things just make Barbarian feel better in really tiny ways. Were they features that everybody in the community was clamoring for? No, not really, but they feel nice. And honestly, I think a lot of people avoid Barbarians because they're just not too interesting. And I'm not saying this like totally overhauls that, maybe a little more with the subclasses, but it does at least give you a bit more. So I don't know. I'm happy with it. I feel more than nothing about it. That's for sure. I feel like that's a little too neutral on it. It's a good change. It adds something, and I don't know, gives you more. I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like the true neutral people from Futurama, where this I feel literally nothing. Is that gonna be whole episode, Kevin? See it coming.
Now, just these two. I feel strongly about the rest.
Okay, good.
Just these two optional class features. I think I just really think they just put them there to check a box of having them.
Well, I'm happy the box was checked.
It's a real minor boost.
All right, so yeah, that is it for optional class features. Doesn't need its whole episode.
Time.
Ooh, yeah, you can put a timer.
I didn't actually run a timer, so we can't like talk about it here, but that was definitely well less than half an hour.
It was about 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first primal path is the Path of the Beast. So this is a barbarian who is able to transform at least part of themselves into an animal. The animal itself isn't really specified, and honestly, I don't think it matters, because based on what you do when you transform, you might get a tail, you might get claws, you might get some teeth that can bite. Some animals can do all of that, but it's not like they're really telling you to pick like it's not like the Barbarian, or I guess the totem barbarian.
The totem warrior, yeah.
Right, where you're choosing a specific animal. It's just kind of like changing yourself to be a little more bestial.
Yeah, I feel like there's too much overlap on the flavor. They're not talking mechanics at all. Just the flavor of it. It feels, I understand it is different than the totem warrior, but it's still really similar. You embody the spirit of an animal. And sure, this one doesn't like force you down to picking bear or wolf or elk or whatever. But the flavor kind of leans towards that, where it's talking about like you have lycanthropy in lycanthropy, whatever, in your family, and you have a little bit of the curse and it comes out, things like that. And which is like, it's such a really nuanced difference from Totem Warrior. And I feel like it fits the same place. You're kind of that spiritual fighter, barbarian warrior who harnesses animals to physically enhance yourself and do better on the battlefield.
Harnesses animals. You find an animal and absorb it into your body. I don't know if I fully agree. I definitely feel like the Totem Warrior has a lot more of a tribal feeling to it, where it's like a connection with nature, but I don't get the same, I guess, part beast aspect from it. So I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, there's some overlap. I'm not sure if I view it as such an overlap.
Both of them
the
even
way.
have you change your physical characteristics to match the beast's power that you have.
Does that happen? I don't remember that in Totem.
For Totem, yeah, it says like they get covered in thick fur when they rage, or their eyes become like eagles with Totem Warrior. Yeah,
I believe you.
That's all in there.
I didn't remember that.
On this one, saying you might have a primal spirit in you, things like that.
Oh, at your option, you also gain minor physical attributes that are reminiscent of your totem spirit. So,
yeah, like I said, I'm not saying it's identical, but I felt like they could have just made this more unique. Just off the top of my head, maybe it's the Path of the Dragon Berserker or something, and like the other one is the Wild Magic, so they're kind of already clearly comfortable borrowing from like sorcerer stuff.
Sure.
So it's like, all right, let's just make that the theme of the Tasha subclasses, and then the Draconic Bloodline Berserker or whatever, you have dragons in your past or infused with the power of dragons, and I don't think they would have to change a single mechanical thing for it to still make sense. But it's just
but then you're uniquely a dragon
different. Then you're what?
You're a dragon guy again.
What other dragon guys are there in there?
About dragon guys.
I don't.
It's come up before.
Sorcerer?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a dragon.
That's literally it. That's his thoughts on it.
That's it.
It's not that nuanced.
Stop.
It's just that anytime somebody has anything that's slightly edgy and isn't a warlock, he gets upset. It's like, oh, you think dragons are cool? Actually, selling your soul to a mysterious patron is cool. Like they're both lame, and we should all feel bad about playing Dungeons and Dragons. Wait, no, that's not the message. Nope. That's not it.
But you don't get to be the dragons.
They have released a couple of unearthed arcanas for, I think it was the Ranger and the Monk, that both had dragon flavors to them, just hinting at the idea of future dragon paths around subclasses. I would definitely be down for a dragon-themed barbarian, because I'm not, for lack of a better word, a hater like Will is over here. But no, I think you've got a valid point, Kevin. It's at least somewhat of a crossover. That said, there's a bunch of subclasses that are very similar. Like, you could point out the same flaws with the thief and the assassin for the rogue, or the champion and
That's a big philosophical jump, my friend.
Right.
And I think thieves and assassins would be really, really mad about that. And those are two groups of people I wouldn't piss off on the internet.
But I'm with Will. Yeah, those are not. I don't see those as occupying the same space.
But I am on Jared's side here. And my disagreement is that the overlap I see, but the beast is in a way a distinct entity to the beasts of the totems. You are a primal force in this instance. So I think there's a passable distinction if it is a bit vague.
Yeah.
So that said, they do have a couple of origins that you could roll for, or just choose from a table, or make up your own, obviously. Those, as Kevin mentioned, one of them is your parents was a lycanthrope, and you've inherited some of their curse. Okay. I do like the idea that the curse just gets diluted. Like, no, you're fine. You're good. We only cursed you a little bit, so it's all right. Next one's your descendant.
It's only 1 part per 100 million in your body, so you just get just some nifty little powers you could manifest and control as you want. But yeah, your mom's fucked. I'm sorry.
Right. Now, that said, that is entirely up to the player to use that curse and say that it's like a bad thing, and play it off as, oh, this sucks. Right. When in reality, it's like they're just giving you benefits. It's there's no problem here. Next one is you're descended from an archdruid and inherited the ability to partially change shape. So I guess I kind of like that from a flavor perspective, in the sense that it feels like a barbarian druid multi-class light. And I haven't been thinking about it like that, but you are kind of changing your shape in order to be more bestial. That's what druids do. So it's fitting.
Right.
Then a face beard gifted you with the ability to adopt different bestial aspects. I don't really find fays all that interesting. So to me, I don't care about that one. But it's there. If you want to have a barbarian with a fey background, you could say it's Path of the Beast. That officially...
I was cursed by pixies!
They polymorphed me as a baby into a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't know why. No, that's challenge rating limited. That doesn't have any crossover with the totem, as the totem has 0 fey aspects, and I don't think it would make sense to have any fey aspects. So there can be a new space for it.
Yeah, sort of, but the end result is the same. You're harnessing power of the beast to be more better, to perform better on the battlefield. That's what I mean. Sure, like, it comes from a fae or a ancient curse in the family or whatever, sure. But that stuff's usually just like a couple lines in a backstory, where the end result, I think, would feel samey.
Well, I think
not the mechanics, though. Mechanically, does play very different, but...
Right, obviously, yeah. But, I mean, backstory-wise, I feel like that would be extremely different. The idea of a character who's cursed from birth versus somebody who was raised to, I guess, be one with nature and, like, to share that experience. It's like the difference between a sorcerer and a wizard, to be honest, of you were given this or you had to work for it in some fashion, which I know usually I'm on the side of wizards are cooler in that aspect because they have to work for it, but that's besides the point. It does feel different to me. But we can just keep going back and forth on that all day, I guess. Last one, an ancient animal spirit dwells within you, allowing you to walk this path. Well, okay, that one's boring.
Sounds a lot like Totem Warrior, guys.
The only way that I could see that playing out to pull from pop culture is the Naruto aspect, which I don't think either of you have watched Naruto. But,
all right.
But his whole thing is that he has a ancient fox spirit trapped inside him. And so that's like some way that you could go with that. So if you wanted to pull from there, you could.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be negative on Naruto just because it's Naruto, Will. You don't have to be an anime elitist snob as well as a D&D elitist snob. You can do one or the other.
And yet I do both.
And if you want to talk about how Naruto jumped the shark like 17 years ago, we can, but that's not for today. Wrong podcast. All right, so Form of the Beast is its first 3rd level ability. When you enter your rage, you can transform, revealing the bestial powers within you. Until the rage ends, you manifest a natural weapon. It counts as a simple melee weapon for you, and you add your strength modifier to the attack and damage rolls when you attack with it as normal. You choose the weapon's form each time you rage. First one is Bite. Your mouth transforms into a bestial muzzle or great mandibles. Your choice. Hey, you got options. It deals 1d8 piercing damage on a hit. Once on each of your turns, when you damage a creature with this bite, you regain a number of HP equal to your proficiency bonus, provided you have less than half of your HP when you are hit. Do you want to talk about these one at a time or go through them all? Let's do one at a time. Yeah, otherwise I'm going to do a lot of reading. So my only issue with this one is that it only works, or it only gives you an extra benefit if you're under half HP. Otherwise, it's like 1d8 damage isn't anything special, so I don't really care about it.
Sure. I think it would be too strong if it was just right away.
Sure.
Because already it sounds pretty strong.
Yeah, it does.
Every time, or once per turn, basically, getting healed for your proficiency bonus.
3 or 4 HP until higher levels. At higher levels, I feel like it matters even less because... That's not
the
much
proficiency
HP.
bonus doesn't scale so much with your HP. Yeah.
Right. Because barbarians...
I guess that's not a ton.
No, because barbarians...
Like on paper, it sounds like a lot, but...
Once you're level, like, we'll say 14, 15, you're in the, like, 130 HP range. So getting some back is okay, but...
Yeah, at that point, you're getting, like, 5 or 6.
Right.
I forgot at what point it goes up, but...
Yeah, so...
Once per turn, 5 or 6 HP at sacrifice of damage, going down to a D8 as opposed to like a D12. That's kind of...
It's okay.
2D6s.
Yeah.
What's the damage difference?
Well, if you're biting, then you'd be able to do 1d8, and then your other attack could be your normal weapon. As long as the bite hits, then you get your HP back. So, geez, that's a lot more math. Yeah, it's not going to be that much.
That's not. Your damage comes from other places, kind of in the Barbarian spirit too. I mean, not hugely like the rogues, but it's.
You're right, because you're going to get your rage damage still, and the rage damage is a flat number, always adds up. Whereas obviously the roll is variable. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it makes you very tanky, so that's good. The fact that it is, again, only once you're at half HP, and you could choose the other ones if you're not at half HP, is fine. It's there, it's an option, and I think you'd be really happy to have it if you start a fight and you're already low HP, and it's like, okay, I've got a way to keep myself up and fighting for a good amount of time.
Right. Yeah, over time it'll add up, especially with you're going to be resistant to a lot of damage. And so in some senses, it's almost like double. You know, and that's not 4. It's more like getting 8 because there's a good chance you're going to be resistant to what you're being hit by. You're not the Barbarian, obviously, so it's not going to be everything, just physical damage, but...
Yeah, I'm all right with it. It's okay. Yeah. So it doesn't need to be the first choice every time. Right. It just happens to be first alphabetically, so they put it first. Next is the claws. Each of your hands transforms into a claw, which you can use as a weapon if it's empty. It deals 1d6 slashing damage on a hit. Once on each of your turns, when you attack with a claw using the attack action, you can make one additional claw attack as part of the same action. So this is probably the one that you're taking most every time.
Right.
It gets you more damage. My question is if I am using a two-handed weapon and I want to use these claws, is it okay to let go of the weapon with one hand and make those extra attacks with the claws?
Raw, I'm not sure. I would say yes, though.
Yeah.
Because it just makes sense.
Totally. It's like with the monk. The monk who, when you do two quarterstaff attacks, a two-handed quarterstaff attack, and then you take a punch afterwards.
Right. And then when it comes to... Yeah, I'm not sure, because then there's the issue of spellcasting, where if your hands are full, you can't cast a spell, and so that's why big part of the reason to take the Warcaster feat.
Right.
But is that shield and one-handed weapon type issue? Is that, if you just have a two-handed weapon, you hold it in one and be able to cast? I don't know.
I think if you had a shield, then that would pose a problem. Yes.
Right.
Because you would need to drop your weapon in order to carry out that whole thing.
Right. So assuming you could do the two-handed thing, you could do your big hit with the two-handed weapon, a d12, then 2 slashes with your claws for 2d6.
You get all the benefits of a greatsword and a great axe in one character.
I'm less convinced on the two-handed thing, because I think a lot of the spirit of it was if you're a monk with a quarterstaff, you whap them a few times and then you kick them in the head.
Sure.
This, you're what are you doing with the battle axe?
I mean, okay, just from a purely a realistic fighting aspect, if you swing a great axe and then hold onto it with one hand, lift up your other hand, and then slash with it, that's it's not hard. It's just that you can't swing the great axe with two hands. I don't feel like it's that hard. Now that said, I'm not a trained warrior, so I would struggle with it, of course, but I don't know. It seems too limiting to just say actually this entire character is basically worse because you wanted to, use your claws, a class feature. So from a realism standpoint, I think it's fine. From a mechanical standpoint, I think it's necessary to allow it.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's worth it, especially compared to Tail, which obviously we'll get to in a minute here. Because so let's say you can do that, and just to keep kind of dice in line here, let's say you do have a greatsword. So you hit with your greatsword, and it's 2d6, and then you make 2 claw attacks for additional 2d6. So it's 4d6 spread over 3 attacks versus if you just make 2 greatsword
rage damage.
Oh, rage damage, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Extra rage damage, extra chance to crit, which barbarians get brutal critical.
Right. Well, that's actually in favor for just attacking with a d12.
With the d12, yes. With the greatsword, no. Which is if you're not familiar with that argument, a greatsword is better in every scenario except for when a barbarian gets brutal critical, because it is 0.5 damage more for a greatsword on average. But great axes are cooler.
Yes, and it's d12 is best dice to roll. It just is.
Right. That's like the only argument you need. It's like, how fun is it to roll a d12?
Great. Yeah, and then brutal critical is when I forgot what level barbarians get it, but once they crit, they get to roll 1 extra damage dice. So if you have a great sword, you are rolling 1 extra d6. If you have a great axe, you are rolling an extra d12, which is a big deal. Yeah. And you get more of those as it goes up. Yeah, it's 9th level. You get your first brutal critical. So it's pretty late in the game. And then 13th and 17th, you get another additional. Right. But yeah, I did forget about barbarian rage damage being applied to every hit. So being able to do 3 is nice.
Yes. Yeah. Because
though it's like an extra 2 damage.
Sure.
Guess I should just have the barbarian thing up in front of me so I know when this all goes up
too,
Plus your strength,
yeah. Okay, all right.
That's actually significant. Getting an extra attack. That's an extra 7 potential damage once you're at. Well, I don't even know for barbarian.
So at 5th level, it's the it's still +2. It doesn't go up to +3 until 9th.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll say at 9th level, which is a perfectly normal spot for people to play at. 9th level, you get +3 for your rage damage. You've got brutal critical, and you're also, at that point, probably going to have 20 strength. So that's +5 and +3. So that's +8 damage because you took the claws.
Yeah.
And, of course, whatever the D6 damage is. But, you as you said, you could have gotten that from the greatsword.
Mm-hmm. And there's always the argument of spreading out your hits.
Yeah.
You have 3 chances to hit instead of just 2.
Right. And with barbarians, you can attack recklessly, which, you're probably going to get that hit.
Right.
Now, all of this said, I'm sure some of this goes out the window if we take the Great Weapon Master feat into consideration, because you obviously cannot use your Great Weapon Master on your claws.
No.
But we were just talking about +8 damage. Great Weapon Master gives you +10 to the attack.
In addition to the +8. So you'd have +18 on those hits.
Not on the 3rd attack, though, because you only get 2 if you're doing Great Weapon Master. Whereas if you're using this, you're able to... So basically what we're trying to say...
More 2 number crunchy
for
us, but...
Right. This is very mathy, but I think that it doesn't look great just from reading it, but I think it is good. And at least comparable to what you could do without it.
Right.
And I'm with you on these.
It seems balanced.
Yes.
It is a choice to make if you want to spread your damage out more or go for the big whammies, the big hits.
Right. And I think what you said about being able to spread out the damage is always a benefit as well, because once you get something to 0, there's no benefit to getting them to -20. It doesn't matter. Right. They're already at negative.
Right.
So better to space that out. It doesn't say that it has to be on the same creature, so you can hit more things. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Next is the tail. So just a reminder, because we've been talking about this for a while, you choose one of these once you start your rage. So for the tail, you grow a lashing spiny tail, which deals 1d8 piercing damage on a hit and has the reach property. If a creature you can see within 10 feet of you hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to swipe your tail, roll a d8, and apply that number to your AC, potentially causing the attack to miss you. So, very first comment, most important part, regardless of mechanics, what creature has a spiny tail? What are you turning into? Okay.
Them dinosaur things?
Stegosaurus.
Ankylosaurs?
Or dragons.
Dragons
still works.
Dinosaur.
And then I'm sure there's made up beasts in D&D. that have this stuff. There's like they shoot needles. We did an episode on them. Yeah, manticores, things like that.
Okay, that works. This definitely makes me think of dinosaurs, though, which you cannot do with Path of the Totem or Totem Warrior.
No.
That does not have dinosaurs.
No, it easily flavor it.
No.
You can reflect. No, you can't, Kevin. You need a full path for Path of the Dinosaurs.
You can't just add dinosaurs wherever you want, Kevin.
I am all for a Primal Path of the Dinosaurs Barbarian subclass, so that's fine. This also could have been that. It still works.
Yeah.
In some senses, even better. But it's fine. I'm not salty about the overlap.
So the big thing here is you have an attack that does 1d8 piercing damage, and you have reach, which gives you a 10-foot radius that you are now controlling. And if you have this out, that also means that if somebody, I guess it gives you you just control a bigger area. If somebody tries to leave your reach, you get to make an opportunity attack. Normally, they have to be right up against you. Here, not so much.
Right. Though, I don't know if I had the tail out, if I would be using my reaction for opportunity attacks, because the built-in reaction of being able to add a D8 and add it to your AC is kind of nuts.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no limit. It's just once per turn. It's limited by your reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time where I wouldn't waste my reaction on that is if they rolled like a 30 to hit, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to block that. There's no chance. Why would I bother?
Right. Sure.
Yeah, so that's...
D8 added to your AC, like +1 AC is a big deal.
Right.
A lot of times.
Let alone
here's a D8.
An average of 4.5 additional AC.
Right. It is just against that attack, though.
Right.
Just something to keep in mind. So things with multi-attack, it's not like shield where it gives it to you for the round.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, if you can even mitigate one attack, then that's huge. This is without a doubt one of the tankier barbarians, which barbarians as a whole are already pretty tanky. Nothing can compete with the Barbarian because it's, I won't say broken, but I don't think you'd see that released today in its current state.
The resistance to every damage type except for psychic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely competes in terms of tankiness.
And then having the reach property is just nice. And like, since this is the tail, you could also still hold your normal weapon.
Right. Nothing stopping you there.
And attack with that, have the reach when needed, and then the reaction added D8 to your AC.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing that I would say is unless you are utilizing that reach property, there's really no reason to use the tail to attack. You're going to be using your weapon that is a better damage die, without a doubt.
Other than it's just cool.
Is it that cool? I'm not a big fan of tails.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you say so.
Are you able to... So you pick one of these when you enter rage. Yes, it's specifically when you enter rage. You're able to just end rage as a free action, is that right?
Yes.
So you could just, as a bonus action, basically on your turn, expend another use of rage and switch these?
I don't see why not. Because I could definitely see a scenario where you are starting to get low in HP.
Nope, you can end your rage on your turn as a bonus action. It's written in.
Has to be
so take 2 turns.
A whole bonus action?
Mm-hmm. Calm yourself down.
Dumb question. But can you use a bonus action to start a second rage without ending the first one? Because it doesn't say that you have to not be raging in order to rage.
I double rage.
No, I think he's right.
You could just go into another rage.
I'd go for it.
Yeah, like if I was a DM and someone was playing this, I'd let him just spend another use and a bonus action to swap a weapon they have here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always think it's dumb that it takes a bonus action to end your rage. What? Why?
It's probably to prevent spellcasting bullshit, to be honest.
I'm not immediately coming up with anything. I was going to say that sounds like a great point, but what?
It just would make it cheaper to unrage, cast spells, rage back up. So if you want to cast a spell, you have to spend a round out of rage.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Where, yeah, I still think that nothing tells you can't start a second rage. You obviously don't get double rage points. Though that would be a neat barbarian subclass. Just keep getting multiple rage points.
That's how we can fix the berserker.
Is let them rage twice.
Yeah.
Now, I'm still of the idea that to fix the berserker, all you need to do is let them enter their berserkerness up to their proficiency bonus per long rest without making them gain exhaustion. Sorry, that's the important part.
Yeah.
I like the multi-rage, and you gain that many levels of exhaustion.
I was going to say, yeah, you don't.
But you gain that many attacks during the battle.
Okay, now that's cool. If you enter 6 rages, you burn them all in one. You're coming out of this with 6 exhaustion points. You're going to die, but you also
get 8 attacks a turn.
And then level 20, you enter infinity rage.
Oh no.
It just keeps stacking. Finally, something that competes with the Moon Druid.
You just never end it.
Yeah. Man, the Moon Druid... I know this isn't the Druid episode, but that's par for the course with our show. I've been listening to the end of Critical Role Season 1, and they have a level 20 Moon Druid in it. And it's just ridiculous. Like, literally every turn.
As a player character?
Yeah, as a player character. Oof. It's like, okay, so I'm going to bonus action switch into this elemental form and then this elemental form. And it's like, you will literally never die. It is impossible to kill them. Mm-hmm. Just 100 HP every turn. Ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, and as a bonus action, right?
Yep.
As Moon Druid, yeah, so as a bonus action, you just reshift into an Earth Elemental with all its HP and resistances.
Yeah. It's like... It makes no sense. Every other level 20 ability, they were just like, okay, we'll make it, it's kind of balanced. That one, they just threw it out the window.
Right.
And then Rangers. All right, Bestial Soul is next. So this is at 6th level. The feral power within you increases, causing the natural weapons of your form of the beast to count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. Keeps them on par. I approve. Yeah, that would suck if you couldn't use your natural weapons anymore because everything had magical resistance. Also, you can alter your form to help you adapt to your surroundings. When you finish a short or long rest, choose one of the following benefits, which lasts until your next short or long rest. First is you gain a swimming speed equal to your walking speed, and you can breathe underwater. Second, you gain a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and you can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down on ceilings, without needing to make an ability check. And lastly, when you jump, you can make a strength athletics check and extend your jump by a number of feet equal to the check's total. You can make this special check only once per turn. I don't find jumping comes up very often.
Yeah, it'll come up when you need to, you have a puzzle to clear a chasm or a spike pit or something like that, and it's like, oh, you're going to have to expend resources, or the barbarian goes, I got this, but then you have to roll for it. So It's like, that's... There's been a couple features in Tasha's where it's like that, where it's like you could teleport or jump or do something, but it's based on a roll. And we've universally always really hated that.
Right, but for an athletics check, it's the check's total. So that means you're rolling a d20 plus your athletics. So it's going to be a minimum of 10 feet at least.
Right.
Unlike that new bunny UA where it's like, yeah, roll a d8 and you get to move that number in feet. It's like, okay, that could be 2 feet. That's not helpful.
Right. Really difficult for a grid.
Yeah, really difficult for a grid.
Yeah.
This also really only comes... Or as you said, if you have to clear a chasm, whatever, you still have to wait an hour to go into this form because there's no reason to have this as a thing all the time.
Right.
I'd say unless you're around water, you'd probably do the climbing speed.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say that would be your default unless you had specific plans for the day, which is useful. That climbing speed, upside down, things like that. I feel it's less useful for a barbarian though. It's useful for ranged characters to get out of the way, stick themselves to the ceiling and attack from up there, things like that.
Yeah.
I guess this could help in combat, at least help the barbarian reach.
You counter that behavior.
Yeah.
Think how terrifying that would be. It's like Misty Step to some kind of remote column away from the barbarian, and he just climbs right up to you.
Just runs over the ceiling. Yeah.
It gives
like spider legs sticking out of his
head.
What is that guy? What kind of animal has a spiky tail?
It gives a level of maneuverability that they otherwise wouldn't have. So I'm okay with it. Even just climbing to the high ground when somebody has taken the high ground and it's like, nope, I'm coming up there. That alone is worth it.
I get that. There's not high ground rules in D&D.
I didn't say there was, but if you're a barbarian, you need to make melee attacks against them.
Okay, and if someone with range. Yeah. Okay, I was picturing like Star Wars. I have like they're in melee and this guy's like 5 feet higher. Like that doesn't do anything in D&D.
No, he could just jump up to him. Mm-hmm. But no, if it is a ranged spellcaster who is 30 feet up and staying far back, which is like a great thing to do as a DM, do that. Mm-hmm. It's mean to your players, but they deserve it. They're bastards. Not you guys. You guys are great. Right. You guys are great.
Totally. Then out of combat, I'm sure there's plenty of situational uses where like basically a spider climb could come in handy. I mean, most likely you're not going to be good at being stealthy. Though you're barbarian, so you're not worrying about disadvantage from armor, and Dex is usually a secondary stat for a barbarian, so you could still probably take proficiency in stealth, find a way to get that, and then you're kind of a barbarian infiltrator.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. It's like that orc from Oblivion, the Assassin's Guild you could join. I'm blanking on the name. Black Hand or something like that.
I never played Oblivion.
This is not... The Assassin's Guild is not unique to Oblivion. It's also in Skyrim and I'm sure older ones.
I don't think you're right.
Like there's the statues like, what's this the color of nights? And you have to say like, sanguine, dear mother. And the statue opens.
Yeah. I remember. And then you murder everybody.
And then you murder everybody.
Yes. But yeah, so everyone's like stealthy assassins. Then you have like the orc in heavy armor. Who's the part of it?
He talks about it like, I don't like sneaking around.
Yeah. The best thing he did is he sat in a box to get loaded on like a ship and then like burst out and just kill everybody. That's you now. You could be that.
There you go.
Sitting in a box.
I don't know what that has to do with climbing, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
They infiltrate. Yeah, they kind of... A couple steps to get that point.
You had to climb on the boat.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you use your swim speed to get to the boat, and then you took a short rest in the water so that you could change over to your climbing, climb up the side, get in a box.
I do appreciate that this is a short rest and long rest swappable.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the barbarian subclasses kind of got screwed up because you pick it and you're stuck with it, or it has something like until you level up.
Right. Yeah, the only thing I'd say is I think you could change this to 10 minutes and it wouldn't break anything. It would just make it feel more useful.
Take 10 minutes to swap it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, you're not going to do it in combat. You're not going to do it if you, I don't know. That's really it. It wouldn't be a combat related thing, but if you're out of combat, yes, you can do it without taking a full hour. Oh, well.
Yeah.
10th level, we get Infectious Fury. When you hit a creature with your natural weapons while you're raging, the beast within you can curse your target with rabid fury. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, the DC being 8 plus con plus your proficiency, or suffer one of the following effects of your choice. First is the target must use its reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice that you can see. The next one is the target takes 2d12 psychic damage. And you can use this feature equal to your proficiency bonus, regain all uses on a long rest. Extra damage, getting them to hit somebody else, pretty neat.
Yeah, it feels strong, but then realizing it's limited.
And there's a save behind it as well.
Right.
I definitely like the idea of the the 2d12 psychic damage like all the time because that's just fantastic damage. We're talking about, I guess, 13 on average, which is good.
Right, it's pretty high, yeah.
But the reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice can really add up, because where character melee attacks really never get too crazy strong, when we were looking at like the fire giants, their melee attacks were like 4d10.
Right.
And that number is not limited to anything. You can officially make anything make this save as well. It's not a humanoid, it's not anything. So if you're fighting something that's a heavy hitter and has multiple creatures, I mean, you make a boss fail this save potentially, and it's wiping out one of its minions on a reaction.
Yeah.
And
it's great that you can...
Oh, go ahead.
Is it make the choice pretty much when you hit.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's using its reaction, which is nice, always.
Yeah. Yeah, probably most of the time doing the top one, make it use its reaction to attack another creature, is the best choice. I mean, obviously there are times for the 2d12 psychic damage, but if you're fighting something where it's not that heavy of a hitter, where it's not worth it to do that, I would almost just not use this at all then just save it for another encounter.
Sure.
That being said, spellcasters, though, I guess the extra damage on a spellcaster.
It gives you options.
Could be worthwhile.
And I'm big on options, because also what if you want to use this and nothing's around? Nothing's within reach.
Right.
You got the psychic
Or
damage.
you're fighting one thing.
Sure.
You know, this would not help you if you're fighting one thing unless you had like a personal grudge with a party member. But you can use this 3 times in a round, which is nothing to scoff at. Like you can't do it very often. You're limited to long rest proficiency bonus, but
right.
If you really need to burn something down,
set up cool combos. You have a enemy like a spellcaster where they're not a heavy hitter, and you position somebody next to them who has like Armor of Agathis on or Hellish Rebuke, or there's a number of things like that, and make them hit them.
Yeah.
That's a wacky combo, but I like it.
Yeah. And just something to keep in mind, at 10th level, when you get this, you have +4 to your proficiency bonus. So you start out with 4 uses of it per long rest, which feels like a good amount.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely an ability that you should never go to a long rest still having it.
Yes.
Like, you should use this at every opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Wisdom saves are usually pretty high for monsters, I think.
It's a pretty common save, yeah.
Yeah.
Not as much as Constitution.
Yeah, right, but it's not like Intelligence or Charisma save or something. So, yeah, it feels nicely balanced, I guess. Like, it has potential to be really powerful, but there's also a very strong limit on it and the potential for it to fail entirely. And usually I think those like really heavy hitter, like gargantuan monsters have usually pretty good wisdom saves.
It's hard to tell.
It gets all over.
It's not
that's
like,
not really an accurate statement.
It's not like giant creature. If I see a huge creature with hulking muscles, I can assume it's probably got good strength and it's probably got good constitution. Its wisdom, right. I have no idea. A humanoid can have 2 wisdom and it could have 20. And unless I talk to it beforehand, you're not going to know in combat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like some of these other stats where you can make a guess on it reasonably. Maybe if you have a level 7 battle master and they spent a minute or 10 minutes, whatever, determining a stat, then great, you know. But otherwise, you're taking a guess. So then at 14th, their subclass capstone, if you want to call it that, they get Call of the Hunt. The beast within you grows so powerful that you can spread its ferocity to others and gain resilience from them joining your hunt. When you enter your rage, you can choose a number of other willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you, equal to your Constitution modifier, minimum of 1. You gain 5 temp HP for each creature that accepts this feature. Until the rage ends, the chosen creatures can use the following benefit once on each of their turns. When the creature hits a target with an attack roll and deals damage, the creature can roll a d6 and gain a bonus to the damage equal to the number rolled. And you can use this equal to your proficiency bonus and comes back on a long rest.
Another really solid one where I'm glad it's capped on proficiency bonus. Otherwise, it could get really ridiculous. This is obviously very party dependent. Like if you're the barbarian and then you got like 2 casters, and maybe a rogue who only attacks once, it's not going to be that great.
Right. It'd be a great Swole Coast contender where all of your party is melee. Then great.
Right.
That said, it does say an attack roll.
Attack roll, you're right. Yeah.
Not a melee attack roll. So if your wizards or clerics casting Guiding Bolt, a wizard's casting Scorching Ray, ooh.
Or just cantrips. It would add to cantrips.
It would. Is that once per turn? Yeah, once on each of their turns. Okay.
Right.
You can also do it on yourself. It doesn't limit it to other creatures.
Right.
So you are getting an extra D6 once per turn. Super useful.
Right. And then the temp HP.
Yeah. There's no reason for someone to reject it. Like, even if I'm a wizard, I know I'm going to be casting save spells instead of attack roll spells. It's like, well, hey, our barbarian gets 5 temp HP, so yeah, I'm in it.
Right. One thing to point out, I don't think this would crit. The D6. The creature could roll the D6 and gain a bonus to the damage equal to the number rolled. It's a really clunky way to phrase it, and I think it's phrased that way too. Because it's saying, like, roll an additional D6 to hit or something.
Man, I hate this. This is like one of my least favorite things to discern. Because I'd have to pull up what the Swarm Keeper and that... What was the other one we were arguing about? It was the psychic damage from the fighter?
Yeah.
Did we ever reach a conclusion on that?
Yeah, we did. It does not crit. It does not crit.
Okay.
I'm going to look this up to see if the phrasing is the same. Because that's going to bother me otherwise. So on the Swarm Keeper, it says, immediately after you hit a creature with an attack. Whereas this one says...
It's just different. It's a unique wording.
When the creature hits a target with an attack roll and deals damage to it, the creature can roll a d6 and gain a bonus to the damage equal to the number rolled. It's a bonus to that number. Personally, right. I think that means it crits.
Why would they phrase it this way? The creature could roll
because
a d6 and get...
People who have it's basically like and have to talk about that.
It's basically saying it's a bonus to the damage based on what you roll. It's like saying you get like +4 to the damage. But instead of it being a set thing, you roll a dice and then that's a bonus.
Yeah. Another head scratcher.
Right. And then on that note, with the 2d12 psychic damage from Infectious Fury crit, I'm thinking no, because they have to make a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, anything that's
separate, yeah.
Anything that is guarded by a save, afterwards it does not crit. Because I remember there's a
separate effect.
There's a stat block I was looking at where like an assassin can do poison damage, but you have to make a con save first, and it's like 8d6 or something crazy. That would not crit.
Right.
Same deal here. There's a save in between. No crits on that.
Right.
Which is a tragedy, because that crit, it's so good. That's so many D12s. It's too many D12s.
You're saying the Infectious Fury doing 4d12?
Infectious Fury, Battle Axe crit nonsense. It would
at 10th level 2 at least. So you're talking about brutal critical. You just keep rolling D12s. You just keep throwing them. I
would be 7d12.
Yeah. Oh, no, that has to use your natural weapon, so it would have to be... Nope, it's ruined. Because it's ruined. Not enough D12.
Oh, yeah, it's natural weapons only. We didn't really talk about that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Fury.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
It's still fine. Yeah.
It justifies their use more than they were before. If you want to use that feature, take a tiny damage loss, I guess.
Right.
I don't have a solid conclusion on the Call of the Hunt, whether or not that crits. I could go either way if I'm being honest.
Yeah. But it's not that important.
No.
Overall, I like the ability. I like the Barbarian having the ability to kind of like rally the party and help them directly.
Not that I think it would be like extremely balanced, but it would be nice if everybody got the temp HP.
That sounds really strong.
It's
or if everyone got
to
5.
Be a different number.
Yeah, if everybody got 5.
Got it.
That's what I meant. Yeah, not if everybody got, we'll say, 20 or 25 like the Barbarian's going to get.
Right.
Just because it adds something to Barbarian that they normally can't do, which this is already doing. It's adding utility or buffing to the rest of the party, which is not really a Barbarian thing otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be small. I don't think that this like class is worthless because it doesn't give the 5 temp HP, but I would like that.
Sure.
Overall, what are your thoughts?
Mechanically, I think it's interesting. I don't think it's, other than like some of the bad Barbarian subclasses, I don't think it blows anything out of the water. Like, I don't think it's automatically better than Totem Warrior or something like that.
Right.
Or the Ancestral Guardian. I like how it gives you choices that aren't permanently locked in, and each one has its own pros and cons. Again, none of them seem like just universally better in every situation. I think adds a lot to the Barbarian class.
Yeah.
That is needed. As you said, a lot of people think it might be kind of dull. It's like really straightforward. It's like, well, here's different choices and things you could do, and everything has its pros and cons. And
right. And I think it ends up a lot more interesting than the Totem Barbarian, and gives a reasonable power increase as well as different abilities as you level up, feeling like you've got more and more and more. Totem Barbarian, as much as it is always the strongest one, you get everything at 3rd level. 3rd level is like, yes, I've got it. And then after that, it's like, oh, I guess I get advantage on perception checks. I don't know. Like it's nothing very interesting. So,
right. And probably most importantly, it's always in the background.
What do you mean?
Your totems, you so rarely do anything with your totem.
Gotcha.
It just is there. This is how you are now.
Right. Whereas this, you're bringing out specific features. You're making an active choice to do a thing at certain times.
Right.
So just from like a class interest level, I like it. In that regard, it's interesting. It has a lot of interesting mechanical choices and abilities. Yeah, it's good. I'm good with it.
Approved.
Big green stamp. Ka-chunk.
Yeah.
Then next, oh no, I have to do a thing.
Yes, yeah, you needed a smooth segue that you just completely botched.
I think we're still doing all right. So, before we get into the wild magic path, we
or
can
next episode
think about.
I'm not cutting any of this.
Make sure to
screw up is
consider
laid bare for the world.
One of our affiliates, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick one. Metallic Dice.
Metallic Dice Games. They have the prettiest metallic dice and non-metallic dice and gemstone dice. I don't know if I've mentioned that so far because those ones are kind of pricey, but when things are a little too pricey, I like to find coupon codes, and we've got one. Using the code MM10, you can get 10% off the die you spent $70 on. They're super pretty. I don't have one yet, but at least look at them. This isn't going to be Kevin approved advertising, but I don't even care if you buy one. Doesn't matter. Just look at those dice. Oh my God. Why don't more people have gemstone dice? Metallic Dice Games. Code MM10. Monsters Multiclass. Get us 10% as well.
Yeah.
Spend thousands of dollars on dice.
Do it. It's a good life choice.
All right.
And then comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell, watch other videos, stick around, etc., etc. We'll be back next week to look at the Path of the Wild Magic. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, that's weird. This is the end of the episode. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Gotta shake it out. End of the episode energy, everybody. Let's bring it. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for listening.
Watching.
We
I already did that
on YouTube.
Yeah, good job, guys.